Welcome back to the desk. I'm gonna say it. Today's interviews are killing me, but we gotta move on. The show must move on, and it's X7 versus Vanir. Tell me, what is happening?
Players, in your future interviews, this man cares way too much about you, more than you deserve. Please be nice to him when you're saying goodbye to him. I'll move on to the stakes.
I love these players, but I'm just gonna say.
I'm pretty fond of them
And
too.
I like you guys as well, and that's the only time I'm gonna say this. Moving on, X7 versus Vanir. The only game today where two teams from playoffs will meet each other, and one of the most important games for X7 and Vanir.
Do you just want to quickly touch on the stakes? I feel like...
Yeah, let's just quickly go through that. I mean, obviously the pick match just started off, but effectively X7 with a win, they secure first place. And for the side of Vanir, even though it's unlikely them to face X7, this could be a future matchup for them, important to track. And if they win, they get themselves a leg up in the choice in the lower bracket matchups if they do end up getting third.
And that's important because Dusty's playing later today. They're currently tied with Vanir and Dusty, and I mean, Dusty's playing Singularity. So for the side of Vanir, you desperately need wins, and you needed them against the better teams.
See, these guys are good. It's almost as they work in the NLC. I'm just gonna say X7 versus Vanir. The stakes are high. Gnar and Hecarim are going to be banned.
I was about to say, when the phrase "they're professionals, all right" comes up on this broadcast, it means two very different things depending on the context.
Yes.
But I'm actually very interested in the first ban, Gnar. Now, obviously, I'm an LGL enjoyer. I know that this champion is very, very popular.
How was your one LGL today?
One a day. But it's definitely a pick which is come into priority across the world globally, even if there are some players which they just hate me. Okay, right, fair play. But the thing about Gnar with the hull breaker and the ability to go between different items as well, you can actually just go straight towards the stride breaker if you want to be more a teamfight champion. You can kind of do it all, and you're very safe playing weak or strong side. Yeah. I'm wondering if X7 are going to start banning away actually what it seems like strong blind picks, so Vanir have to commit to something.
I mean, you can see what Vanir wants to do as well. They're taking away the junglers. We had a pre-show about Haru. One of the champions, or three of the champions we mentioned was Hecarim, Sao, and Jarvan. Now, Jarvan is a bit harder to blind pick just due to the nature that Thresh can make it annoying for you, especially if you want to facilitate bot side. But those were the picks we talked about, and Vanir is and Haru is an incredibly scary jungler.
Okay, so we're going to get at least two of our super powered AD carries up. We're going to have Zeri, Aphelios, Jinx, one of them. And Kevo has had some massively pop-off games. Now, you're not going to have the Tahm Kench to survive with that. I wonder if that actually empowers your Zeri a little more, because Zeri was probably the champion which wants to be comboed with that champion the least. Zeri's gone though, so it is probably just going to be like we see in our major regions, trade-off between the two.
Gentleman's agreement.
A gentleman's agreement, and see which side do you want. Do you want the early wave shove and the longer range consistency of the Jinx, or do you want a bit more volatility and playmaking around the level 6 to level 11 mark?
Yeah, and usually what we see is a rotation of AD and jungle, but I actually think in this instance you can just go for jungle and Ryze if you want to. You can save the AD pick if you have your priorities, and you can just go for... I mean, what is there left?
I think you can go Thresh and you can go jungle too if you want. If you want to say, I want to win bot lane, because Jinx often gets control over it. Gwen is a very strong top lane pick as well, though, so a bit of a different angle altogether.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a decent flex, and we've seen both Nilla and Noodle.
That's true, actually. No, that's fair.
And they don't have to take the AD carry in this instance here. They can wait for 3. And as you mentioned yourself, Thresh, I think Quickset, I think Lulu as well. Like these two champions has been his most played. So you can try and blind pick them and then just go for the support later down the line. But what I think is interesting is the fact that Vanir haven't opted in for that Ryze, which kind of tells me the tale that Zahira is a little bit scary to blind pick into tempt, and they might want to get the counter pick for their solo lane matchups instead.
I was waiting for the support on this.
Yeah, I think it's weird, right? Because you know AD carry is not going to get taken away.
Yeah, and so maybe the angle from Vanir is that actually Thresh isn't great into Gwen, because you start fishing for hooks and it just doesn't matter against this champion because she's immune all the time. So when you're trying to go towards those confrontations around your dragons and your objectives, Gwen gives you the X factor on that front. Can't exactly dodge out on a volley bear if that's locked in, though. That is one of our early game pressure junglers that has been very big in our region in general. And Haru, giving him anything to fight early game is dangerous.
I also think Jarvan is good here as well. Like, I think both options are really good.
Oh, that's a good call.
Thank you.
Okay.
See, so the reason for that is you get to rotate the Thresh. And once you know that Thresh is no longer an option on the side of Quickset, well, then that...
We talked about this in pre-show. Someone explained to us all the advantages.
So as the expert here, no, I can't. I really can't go off.
This is a difficult matchup.
Yeah.
It's actually not the best blind pick to come through with it. So the thing is, like, you're going against Jarvan, If you lane without flash on Renata, it's basically over. You are under so much pressure. And like a lot of other enchanters, like the Lulu, like the Janna, your source of disengage also allows you to slow the enemy. It allows you to give yourself movement speed. And while the W and Renata just give you a little movement speed, it's not the same thing like in escaping a gank by knocking them away with a Janna tornado. Like your disengage is very immobile, especially when you hit 6 as well, because you stand still to ult. You can't walk meanwhile.
What I will say in this game though is that, of course, you do have the dive into you with the Jarvan already. It kind of means that X7, like, you're either going to leave Jarvan without a dive buddy if you don't want to say it and go like, haha, Renata, you're not going to do much this game. You don't really have that option because you don't want to leave Jarvan to just do all their own stunts. On the other side as well, though, I mean, you have, it's kind of like the Yuumi phenomenon where it's just like, sometimes you actually can just leave your AD carry and say, I prefer my top player instead, give them the buffs. And actually, someone like that Gwen is going to really benefit from that.
Yeah, as a 2v2 though, I don't think it's too bad. Like, it's an execution-based matchup into Thresh. It's really just about who's the better support here.
And actually, when we've seen X7 lose before, it has actually been through execution in bot lane, so maybe...
Yeah, you bring the narrative, let's see what actually happens. I'm not going to confirm neither deny that. All I know is that jungle is going to be very pivotal Ori for X7. There's a lot of pressure on Harry to make it work, but usually he actually hits that one. Now, I think that they might actually reveal their flex on Gwen here and try and save the last pick.
For mid?
Or for mid, unless they just straight up say Rise. Exactly.
I was thinking about that. Pick the Rise and then show at the end. You need to save the top or the jungle. It is Jaeger.
It came through.
But what this does mean, again, is that, so this is something that was quite apparent in Game 1 in terms of the way that the teams are drafting, is that if you're playing towards early pressure in jungle, you often want the lanes to actually play off of, right? So if you're not going to have lane push and the Jarvan's going to have to play against pushing mid, that Rise does make that quite difficult. It's quite hard to push into him. Now, something like a Jace does very similar on the top side. Graves is unbanned, so you could potentially go towards a Graves on the top side if you wanted to have an AD threat up there. Of course, actually something like the Gwen also does pretty well in that early game too. If you're going to contest the early shove, though, Syndra is one of the best picks to do that into the Rise.
Yeah, but I think they are looking for Graves. I think with the Tryndamere ban as well, the Camille's, like, you don't want to get outside lane, so I think that's why they have opted in for these, because if you plan to send the Gwen up top side, I think you would have banned Jace. I think a top laner will come through here on R5.
So, taking down that timer.
It could be, but
it's a good matchup.
All right. This is maybe only the third or fourth Wukong we found that we've had this whole split. Actually, most of it was coming through from Tatari, from Singularity, and that's a heck of a lot of setup. And the thing about this into Jace, this is very good when Wukong was in the prime of their meta. If you try and push up on that Jace, Wukong just runs you down.
Yes.
And that's how it's supposed to go. Wukong needs to do something level 1, trying to run the Jace down,
level 1.
Get an HP advantage. I know there's tricks about which runes you go in terms of what's actually most beneficial in terms of that 1v1, but I apologize, I really have forgotten which one is
bone plating. there's bone plating, there's time warp tonic you can go for as well, because actually move speed's very important in that matchup. Chasing out for the extra auto can be really impactful.
But yeah, it's about the 1v1 off towards the top side. I'm just happy to see Renata. It's going to be execution based on bot side. I think Haru and junglers have a lot of pressure. Noodle, not so much. He's more about getting to the mid game. But for Haru, it's about making those first two clears work.
And these are two teams that are looking into playoffs, but they don't know the seedings yet. So this could be for X7 if they win this match. Vanir could get a really good place if they take a game out of X7. But without further ado, it is time to send it to the casters. Initialize and Trouble.
Thank you very much.
Meow.
Trouble's got herself a drawing because she does. It's a reason you just
I don't know who did that.
I think it was Prime League because they share the studio with us. They left us a message.
Love your show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Prime
Yours
League.
is all right, too.
Yours is okay. Yours is pretty good too. We love you too. So, quickly, we've got ourselves a pretty big game on our hands here. X7, currently #1 team in the league. They win this game, there is no way for any other team to match their record. It will secure first place. There will be nothing to debate at that point. For Vanir, if they are winning, they want to try and get towards that 4th place, not be competing with Dusty, who are just behind them in the standings. So a lot on the line here in the NLC as we come into our final week of regular season.
Honestly, if X7 do win this game, I think they solidify our question when we came into week 1. Is this the best team we have in the NLC?
Yes.
Because all I'm seeing so far is 2 losses, both to Bifrost. You could say that, you know, Bifrost are their nemesis.
They have got the 2-0. I mean, there was some weird draft stuff going on, but X7, when they've been on, have been truly exceptional. When you bring in the likes of a former world champion in Haru and
Literal world champion.
Yeah, Azael wishes in League of Legends. You can quote me on that. Maybe I'll get insulted on Twitter or something. Anyway,
Mate, have you seen his Warlock, though?
I have. He was really good, in fairness.
You cannot talk shit about his Warlock.
That's true. He's really good. But you've got this incredible mid-jungle from the LCK. And now we've got ourselves a bit of an interesting draft. Jason to Wukong with that flex to get Noodle on the Gwen again, where Noodle has run over people in the past. One of the only junglers in my mind who's been able to match Haru, and then Renata for the first time in the NLC. Super exciting.
So what I find that Vanir did very well here is that they're trying to alleviate the pressure off of their bot lane. If I was Haru, if I was Javan, I would leave bot lane 24/7. An Enchanter and an Aphelios into Thresh, into Javan, you've got so much setup down that bot lane. You land one CC, the rest are bound to land, or you can take flashes. That means that duo, that immobile duo, can never push forward. And you also have the Jinx. You feed Nata, you win later on the hyper carry. Now, what I really like that Vanir did here by locking in the Gwen first is that they had this possibility for a transition. So you get all that priority that you have in the mid lane. You get to alleviate the pressure from the bot side of the map, because now the Wukong beats the Jace, and then you're trying to force the Javan towards the top side of the map, where Sahira can also roam after 6.
Wukong beats the Jace when he can start doing things like this to get the level 2 first, of course. Range into melee, Jace can definitely do some stuff early, but Wukong hits 2 items, it gets very scary for the Jason.
It's also the pattern that Wukong trades, right?
Fair.
He will go in, bonk you on the head, then he will put his mimic out and run away. You don't necessarily have time to trade with the Wukong, and that's how sneaky he can be. And obviously after 6 you get immense all-in potential.
Absolutely, you do. And of course, you can turn it around with the Jace because you can knock him away, and then you can wait the clone out and then shock blast him in the face as he runs away. There are ways to play it. It's just as you said, level 6 come through, it gets a bit tricky. Bot side, though, of course, Renata is a bit of a weird champion. You heard Gulborg talk about it a fair amount already, but we'll have to keep our eyes on it because...
Am I the only one that hasn't been charmed by Renata?
Apparently, Charm's more like sent into an apocalyptic rage with her ultimate. But you kind of work that you kind of have this ability to say, if you can get through to level 6, if you can get through to the mid game and an item or 2 on this champion, you're absolutely in the clear. You've got an Aphelios to back up here as well, someone you can really make work with that W, with the bailout to give yourself even more to work with. The problem is surviving lane, because your cooldowns are so damn long. Your basic abilities are all like 15, 16-second cooldowns.
The good thing about Renata here is, I think Gulborg mentioned it on the desk as well while the draft was going on, is the fact that you're playing Syndra with Javan and a Jace. You got the long range poke from Syndra's face and the Jace shock blast, as you mentioned, and you've got Haru with Thresh. You get the hard engage with the Javan, then you have the Thresh hooking in. So you've got pretty easy setup for an all-in, which Renata is really good at. She loves peeling backwards. Now, the important thing is, because we see him on the map, Noodle has been an absolute menace this season.
There's the ghost, and speaking of being a menace, you literally said menace as she goes over the wall on the Gwen. And Gwen does manage to retreat, but forces the flash out, and that's a big deal into this Wukong.
Because look at the wave right now. The wave is pushing towards Nile. He's going to have to thin it out just a little bit back and then TP back on. What does Jaeger have to do? He has to overextend to try and get that CS that's pushing again towards Nile on the top side of the map. If Nile wants to, he can freeze it that way. This is why we also see Haru playing towards the top side of the map. He's most likely going to need Haru to play towards the top side of the map so they can shove in the wave and try to reset it.
First death in this top side could be a massive, massive deal. We were going to talk a little bit more about the jungles, and we might well do later, because Jarvan and Gwen, Noodle on one of his signature picks, Haru, honestly, on one of his signature all-time picks as well, and that Jarvan could make massive differences in this game. But this top side matchup, first death, I feel, probably decides how this lane goes forever in a lot of ways. Because it can snowball really hard one way or the other. Jace, one of the premier snowballing picks, as Tempt continues to get the shove in mid lane. Massive CS lead as well, with early teleports having come through from both. That could get something for Haru here as well, but I do need to keep an eye on whether that flashless Jace gets punished.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, Noodle is trying to go towards the top side of the map. I think Caro did smite the big bird right there, so he takes it away. So, one thing that we haven't necessarily talked about is...
Why would you smite the Sesame Streets character? What did Big Bird do to Haru?
One thing we haven't necessarily talked about is what's happening in the mid lane right now. Zahira is playing the Rise. This champion is one of the champions that permanently pushes and has priority in the mid lane. The only problem is that Syndra has kill pressure on you.
Yes.
So she doesn't necessarily care too much about pushing in the wave as long as she gets to trade on you, because she has longer range than you and she can pin you down in place and trade away, also having the... Ari, yeah.
Yes.
So,
We're Ari. There you go. I know. We've had a lot of Ari. We've had a lot of RE
not
combos.
Aries were harmed. Not Aries were harmed in this.
Somewhere out there, Nightmare is going to come and have a stern talking to with
Right
you.
now, from Noodle having 2 priority lanes, which Wukong can shove in the Jace right now, especially since the Jace has no flash, and you've got kill pressure on him. You've got the Rise, which should be having perma priority in the mid lane. You've sort of lost both. One, because you didn't punish the flashless Jace, and he was able to shove in the wave and reset the lane. And 2, because Zahira is having it really hard playing versus the Syndra, which then unlocks in turn Haru on the Javan on the map to sort of walk into your jungle, steal away your big bird, walk towards the bot side of the map, steal away the dragon, because you have a Jinx on the bot side of the map, which means priority.
Absolutely does. And when you can see both of these carries have gone towards Coles early, they know how this game is going to be played right now. It's kind of cash in, play a little bit safer. Honestly, for me, that is great news for Kevo and Quixeth, who've gone towards a more scaling duo in general, as Noodle is turning up topside. There's a level 6 available for Nilla. That means Cyclone's coming through. Inclement weather inbound. Dives there, but a lot of damage through already. He's going to flash out. Will avoid that, but that's a lot of damage now coming back onto the towers. I think Noodle's just dead, isn't he? Going down, Jaeger's alive! Does finally burn out, but my days, that got close to the Jason surviving.
Ooh, that was a big blunder right there from Nile and Noodle. It was Nile initially tanking the tower, whilst it should have been Noodle, because he had used his not immunity, but his shroud on the floor. I don't remember the name of this.
Hallowed Mist.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much. So he uses it right now when he starts tanking, but the Nile is not hitting anyone anymore, and Jaeger manages to kill
Last auto.
tower.
Took minion aggro and died to the last auto.
I mean, hey.
Oh, disaster.
Okay, can we say this was a 2.5 versus 1?
That's fair. Okay, nice hook. Mommy Chompers are behind. Kevo's going to get rooted, has to burn the heal. And now the fight commences. Quixith, though, with a quick loyalty program, will make sure that his valued customer, Aphelios, stays in one piece.
You've got really good guns to fight right there, because you've got the Infernum, you've got the Gravitum, you slow them down, you put down the OE damage, you also have Renata, who can also put down the OE damage and do some damage to Season and Shadow too. So it's a pretty even trade, I would say, with the difference that Kevo had to use his healing fear of his life before the Ignite goes down, because once it does, it's not as effective.
No, it is not. But what it does mean is with the early shove going on in the bot side, X7 will decide that with how disastrously top lane play, I think it's fair to say, went along, they're going to get us a hold of this Herald, which is great news for them. Right, as it stands 1-1, 300 odd gold, but that's about it as the difference right now.
I feel like Vanir are falling behind the timings, because
I see what you mean.
When Jace lost his flash, there was an entire wave that was pushing under Nile's tower. That's where you can punish. Whilst Jace is trying to push away, Noodle has to sacrifice, shutting down Jace to continue farming his lane. Now Jace is feeling more confident. He's got his Serrated Dirk right there. He's stacking his T. He was able to 2v1 underneath his tower. He's feeling much better. He's got his flash up and available, which means that if another gank commences, the only thing that you have to flash away from is the Wukong cycle, since there's no flash to follow up for the Wukong. So I feel like they haven't necessarily played well with their openings right here from the sort of Vanir, plus here being stuck, literally stuck in the mid lane.
Yes.
Is a huge problem for them.
Tempt has pretty much every time I've seen it been throwing those Ws, those forces of will out, hitting pretty much every time. So Hero's been traded and shoved on the tower quite a lot, which of course Rise normally known for getting pretty consistent shove. Not really happened thus far. It has led to a slight gold lead, as we've said, to X7, who are now up about that 1,000 gold point, which is great news for them. But on the other hand, Vanir, Wukong, Gwen, Rise, Aphelios, Renata, that's a disgusting 2-3 item team fight comp. And we've seen what this team can do to turn things around, which might be happening right about now. Scout of the Week comes through, then it might be turned around as Haru's gone in, and now it's taking a lot of needlework, has to flash away from that Q from Quixeth. Did not want to deal with a handshake where he could get pulled back in. Not the deal you take with that particular devil.
I it's not necessarily the worst losing Flash on your Javan. Yes, Flag and Dragon Flash and Ultimate is a pretty strong tool, but you don't necessarily have anyone else diving in with you. So you're going to be fine with a Flag and Drag into a Gwen, into a Wukong, into a Ryze. They're pretty short range anyway. You will be able to reach them. Now, the thinking...
Oh.
No way.
Did we miss a kill top side while we were watching mid? I think
No
we did.
way.
He surely didn't. Oh my days, that's close. Oh my lord, we were focusing on mid and Nile.
No, it was not even close.
Okay, fine, I see the meme, I'm there with you. But at the same time, tower in mid lane falls and Jaeger returning a little bit of the earlier
Quickly,
pressure.
talking about the timings that Vanir
Yes.
have been missing, the fact that they haven't been able to snowball top side of the map, they have lost pressure through mid, they cannot necessarily fight in the bot lane because it's a Thresh and a Jinx, you cannot necessarily catch these. Noodle has not had pressure anywhere on the map. He has not had anywhere to play through. You cannot set up with the Ryze into the Syndra because Tempt has literally been bullying Sahira out of the lane. So if the Ryze is not there, he cannot set up for you, which means that again, Haru has been completely unlocked in the entire map. He got the Dragon, he got the Herald. Through the Herald, they got the mid lane tier 1 tower, which means that the mobile carries such as Ryze are going to have a much worse time into the Syndra.
And it's the Haru special into these kind of bot lanes. That is the stride breaker for the Jarvan, where you throw it onto an Enchanter and an AD carry. They don't really have anywhere to go right now.
And they're both immobile.
There's going to be a lot of people down here, both junglers around and about looking at maybe to contest. That's a good handshake that's going to force the cleanse out of Nata. Does have the ultimate to maybe wake things happening. A lot of damage coming through the Moonlight Vigil, of course.
Ooh.
The hostile takeover, not quite enough there with the Moonshot to close him out, but it will be the cleanse force from Nata, and that allowed for a big trade. It's going to stick around, though. Feels secure enough to do so, though.
It's a huge wave, and you cannot afford
to
lose that. If you're Nata, they do have Haru around, but due to that trade going on in the bot lane, due to catching Nata out, Noodle is able to sneak in at Dragon because it's the first time he has priority through the bot side of the map, so at least he can use some pressure that's been generated by Vanir right now to get some advantages in the jungle.
He had to flash out there, thought maybe he could do the face check, but decided against that one real quickly. And you're right, nobody died in the bot lane, which of course Vanir will be a little sad about having burned a fair amount for it, but they did secure the dragon, which is great news for them. They are still down a fairly hefty amount of gold, though. It's nearly 3,000 gold. And yes, your comp kind of comes online more at the 2-item mark. It does indeed scale exceptionally well. You know, Wukong, Gwen, Ryze, Aphelios. I've said it before, I'll keep saying it again.
Immune.
But if you're falling behind 4,000 odd gold to X7, who are our best statistical early game team in the whole damn league, it's a bold call to make in draft.
You know
It's a
what
bold call
else
to
they're
make
the
in
best at?
What?
Any other team in the league.
True, it feels like. If they win this, they will be. That will also be true in the standings, as we've said already. I appreciate that. I thought we were going somewhere very different with that. I was like, where's trouble going with this? But no,
This
that
time
was
I was serious.
No, a little bit. First items coming through for X7. They're all done. Of course, they're a little bit ahead of the curve, as we said, in terms of the gold. That's not entirely a surprise.
Really sad.
What is really sad?
Top lane is really, really sad for Nille.
Yeah.
I feel like there were opportunities missed where this Jace should not have any agency in this game at the moment. He's some experience up. He's able to bully away the Wukong. Now you've got the extra shield coming in from the Eclipse, which means the all-in potential is not necessarily there yet. And even if you bring Noodle into the equation, Jaeger still has his flash available to be able to get out. And this is getting slowly but surely a choke from the side of Vanir.
I will raise you.
Okay, raise.
When Wukong hits level 11 and gets Trinity Force, he could definitely look for the wall in on himself.
2 points into R, okay.
Yeah, so he got the 2 points now. He's got his mythic complete. I think maybe there's a kill
I will raise you.
Raise me again, I see.
Jace is one of the main characters in top hit show Arcane.
I would know. My character here in the NLC cinematic universe is Initial Ace.
How can you fight against that?
Self-deprecation and not wanting to increase my...
One shot plus, by the way,
oh
half
Lord.
the HP.
Okay, you know, I tried to come up with options for this Wukong, but apparently Jace is pretty far ahead right now with that item complete.
Arcane buff.
It's the arcane buff. They've got 2 arcane characters versus none. So what are you going to do?
Again, Tempt.
Yeah.
Mid lane pressure. He's bullying away Sahira.
Oh, 30 CS.
Who has to be extremely careful because remember, mid lane tier 1 has gone down, so you cannot necessarily overextend in that mid lane because you never know where Haru is. They don't necessarily have vision when it comes to that line after River. So there's no vision, they don't know where Haru is right now, but what Haru is doing very well is, again, he doesn't have to do much, he doesn't have to get, even though he's playing the Jarvan, he can play the game.
Oh, he tried to get out, but couldn't quite get out of the AoE of take to the skies. All the while, there's an attempted red buff invade that does go the way of Noodle. They might continue to trade here. Moonlight Vigil comes through. That'll be a Gravitum Q coming afterwards. That Binding Eclipse. Flash blown from Kasing for the temerity to try and challenge the red buff take.
Nice respect from Nat and Kasing. They know Haru's on the other side of the map. They know they want to put down the Herald, which means that Javan is going to be towards the top quadrant of Noodle's jungle.
Wait.
Sakira is bringing Noodle with him, but I don't think it's going to matter. Again, Tempt has his flash available. He's got his Scatter of the Week available. And top lane has been an absolute
2 towers.
stomp.
It's Lord of the Rings all over again. Saruman wishes it happened this way. Massive. Yes, I made that reference. I'm not ashamed.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you. Further, your awe is appreciated. Yeah, I'm not going to stop there before it goes too far. But Vanir will at least trade back somewhat in the bot side, but it's a massive expense. Noodles burned the ghost in that play, attempting to get on the Tempt.
And they
Didn't
know,
work out.
They know, look at that.
Yeah.
They know, X7 know that
Okay,
Noodle's
Kasing
towards the
could be in
bottom of the
trouble.
map.
That is a big handshake. Will follow through. Nata now flashing out. Will go berserk and gets the kill onto Kasing, turning it around with a little bit of friendly fire.
For someone who knows that Noodle is down there and they started respecting it, that was the most disrespectful respect I've seen.
It is a very X7 way of playing, and in fairness, they nearly got out, couldn't quite toe the line well enough, and they will lose the bot side for it. Of course, Naturally stays alive, but they get a kill. It keeps them a little bit closer, but they are down a little bit of gold here, as we said.
So, let's have a look at what could happen when this team starts clashing at the Dragon. 25 seconds for the Dragon. What do you have from each team to try and generate pressure? Obviously, Haru onto the Javan. You've got the Flag and Drag and the Stride Breaker to slow people down around you. It's a very easy way to follow up, for example, a Scatter of the Week or a Hook by Thresh. Scatter of the Week and Thresh Hook. Very, very situational. Both skill shots, both have to hit. On the other side, it's much easier to generate an engage or a disengage because you've got a root with Sahira, you've got the all-in potential from Nile's Wukong as well, who has now finished his Trinity Force, yet you do not have to fight. You've got Kev on the Aphelios, hashtag, we scale boys. You need the right guns to pick up a fight versus X7. You're most likely gonna need the sniper, because playing against Jace, Syndra, and Jinx, you're gonna need the long range to put down the hurt.
Absolutely.
Ah, you do have it right here, actually. You've got the Infernum and the Calibrum.
That's
Yes!
That's the one. Now the question
green and the blue.
Okay, the real test is, can you remember all of Aphelios' abilities?
Absolutely not.
Right, hang on. So, Calibrum, Moonshot. Infernum, Duskwave. Crescendum is the Sentinel turn.
Severum?
Severum is Onslaught.
Okay.
And then, what's the last one I'm forgetting here?
Chakram?
No, I've said that one. Oh, that was Sentinel turrets. I'm forgetting one here. Oh, Gravitum, Binding Eclipse. There we go. That was nearly very awkward the moment I said, can you remember them all? Throw a ego check it, and then they failed.
It was like through a test at school. Neil did not pass the exam.
No, he did not. That was a straight F. In chat, if nothing else.
F for effort. F for effort.
I think you're going to get an F for your spelling check as well on that one.
What?
Effort does not start with F. It starts with E. As Sahira is going to get flashed over the wall.
F for effort.
F for death. F's in chat. Press X to play respect, apparently, as well.
Okay.
If we're going with all the letters of the alphabet. Both solo laners of X7 killing solo laners from Vanir.
Okay, the solo bolos right, the solo bolos left. If I go back to my apartment, there's going to be solo bolos there as well. And honestly, this bush in the top side of the map has killed a lot of people today. People camping in there, and
does he just walk up and QE over the wall?
He walks up, he knows Sahira is going to take that route because he knows the blue buff is up and available. It's like, it's a rise, he will want the blue buff, so this is my chance. And honestly, being able to go past the Arab Force right there as well was huge. Jaeger with a solo kill as well, so yeah, top lane versus mid, top lane versus mid. It is X7 coming up ahead, and mind you, it is only a 3,000 gold difference, but the way X7 is playing on the map, the confidence they're exerting on the map, it is absolutely huge. And not to mention, Nata hasn't even said a word all this time.
No.
He's playing the Jinx, he's got the Kraken, he's got the Lord Doms, he's gonna have his cleanse up and available, he'll be able to fight in a bit.
If it stays at 3,000 gold for the next 5 minutes or so, I start to think a little differently, because you'll have that point where Vanir are kind of online as a comp. If it is not 3,000 gold at that point, and it may well not be with the way it's been playing out right now, I'm going to have a lot more concerns with Vanir. I'm already a bit concerned. If they can stabilize, if they can staunch the bleeding, They have got options with the way their team comp plays later into the game. But they need to stop seeding pressure into their jungle. It's so hard to do with all the outer towers gone.
That is very difficult, and also the fact that you only have squishes that can go into the jungle and try to get some pressure, try to get some vision back for yourself is just so difficult. Face checking a Syndra is so hard. Face checking a Thresh is so hard. So getting the vision in the first place is very difficult for Vanir to do at this point. When it comes to the team fights, I will agree with you. If it's at even footing, if the 2 to 3 to 4k behind, the wombo combo that can happen with the Ryze, the Aphelios, and the Wukong can actually completely decimate and plus Noodle onto this Gwen, who also has a kill to his name. Yes, it's possible, because X7 also has very situational ways to play the fight. If the Shock Blast lands, if the Hook lands, if the Scatter the Weak lands, which right here it didn't, for example, it could be potentially the go button for Vanir to go in and try to catch off the Jace, try to make a play. And they're thinking about it, but behind them is the entirety of X7 roster.
Yeah, it might be a little bold. For while the Death Sentence of the Scatter of the Week aren't point and click, things like the Flag and Drag into the Cataclysm will be. Super Mega Death Rocket secures Sahira's life. They'll secure the mid lane in a turret. Death Sentence inches away from claiming Gwen, but she will only have a close experience with death, not anything, or near-death experience. That's the way that actual phrase goes. Either way, it will not lead to her demise. Haru moves back over to the Scuttle Crab, and the gold lead is now expanding. That's looking more like 3,500 to 4,000.
It just seems really difficult right now, because if you're thinking about
playing discrepancy,
if you're thinking about like peeling backwards, right? It's perfect for Vanir. They can peel backwards. It's what they've been doing the entire split. All they've been doing is moving backwards. Nile right here cannot move backwards because Jaeger's waiting for him. He's brought a friend over as well. The TP, can he survive long enough?
He might be able to. That's some good invisibility. The Cyclone's buying time. The teleport's coming through as well, but so much damage! Good God, he's gone! That will at least be traded back 1-for-1, and I think somewhere else there was a teleport stopped. Look at the mini-map. There's a Baron going on. They do kill Sahira, but what's happening in the picture-in-picture? You've got an Aphelios with chakrams and a Gwen who's got scissors enough to cut down the purple worm to size. Baron is the trade!
And you talked about stopping the bleeding. Baron is the way you can stop the bleeding. They're getting seeds from every single side. The fact that you deny the Baron from X7, you deny the seeds from them, you deny Baron with your Jace, you deny Baron with Syndra on a side lane, another 3-man push in 3 lanes at once. The fact that you deny that is huge for Vanir if you want to stall for time, if you want to scale better in this team fight. And Nile, surprisingly enough, he survives for way too long. Mind you, that's not a gold drinker, Javan. It's a stride breaker Javan, so he cannot necessarily tank way too much. But of course, yes, it was clever play from Sahira trying to put down the teleport right there, because Card of the Week was already used, Flag and Draw was already used, but you cannot teleport away from spheres in your face.
The only thing I'll say, though, it costs the kill advantage still went to X7. They still got Soul Point. They're still getting in a tower. Ooh. So, like, actually, this Baron is nice, but is it going to be enough? That's going to be a 3v1. I don't know whether you want this, Jaeger.
He's looking at Kevo.
They don't know Noodle's there yet. In fact, that wall's going to be too late. Noodle's around. In fact, here come the rest of X7. Sahira will come over, and I think they have this angle. Noodle needs to be careful. No. This could get very angry. What will a hostile takeover do? What will a bailout do? Nata has been spotted. He's on Sahira. He's just not doing enough damage. Gets lanterns away. Quickset is dead, though, before anything like a business deal can come through. What is business in the face of outright violence? Do you get the kill and prevent the shove?
Oh, no, Noodle didn't know. But they laugh. And Quickset ends up paying with his life for it. If Vanir were thinking they were trapping X7, but Jaeger brought the whole of X7 over and they trapped Vanir. Now, ultimately, this is a tower versus a kill, so the trade does go to the side of Vanir, because while all this is happening, and Noodle's like, Pepe laugh, he doesn't know. Yes, he gets caught, but yeah, he's immune. He's gonna get out of this, and honestly, Nata escapes with a sliver of health as well, so it could have very well been a 1-for-1 trade. And you start seeing how Vanir composition starts hurting.
Oh, Nile. He's just taking so much damage. Noodle's around, though, and actually needs to be a little bit aware. That's a Cyclone coming through. It's going to buy a lot of time. Nile will not quite die, but the Shock Blast misses. But a skip and a slash forward will secure Noodle. A shutdown. Reminder, Noodle is the leader in damage share, in DPM for all junglers out there, because he managed to pull off crap like this in the mid and late game. Man leads the charge for Vanir. Tempt over the wall, though.
Okay, Tempt thinks he's trapping them, but the whole of Vanir is coming through, so it is Needle pulling the bait right here for everyone else.
Weeks out of the weeks, it goes immune. That's a well-timed use of that shroud. Needs to get away though, so here Realm what's in. Has to go golden to avoid the final needles. Would have been death by 1,000 cuts. Noodle goes in too deep, but he's gonna bail out. And a berserk as well, but will still fall. Because of course he will. And that will allow the death of the jungler. 2 dead. And now Vanir need to find their way out of danger. They've got no Realm Warp. Haru can go forwards looking for a strike breaker. The teleport in onto the standard to allow for an option. Needs to go back out though.
Was the Moonlight Vigil? They have Moonlight Vigil onto the Aphelios.
That's a root. Sierra walked into it. He mistimed it. But now over the wall, the overloads, the sway, that Gale falls forward. So much damage. Will secure a kill because Jaeger's back. Quicksith is there, but will not be able to survive the AD carry's life. And it is X7 playing to the wire, but the wire favors them.
That is an absolute fiesta. The fact that Kevo goes down when he has Severum and Moonlight Vigil and can literally heal his entire HP bar with one button.
Fingers.
That was beautiful right here. Obviously, from Noodle being able to immune the scatter the weak, and obviously the Hourglass to stop the last take from the ultimate from Noodle, but Noodle gets caught. He dashes in, gets the last second invulnerability in case he gets a kill and he can stay alive, but the bailout card did not work there from Renata, and it's a little bit questionable here because Kevo is the one face-checking into that bush, and it's he's very lucky that Haru does not necessarily flag and drag into his face. And right here, he has Moonlight Vigil. He has the Gravitum and he has the Severum. Jaeger joins, doesn't do much damage onto the Aphelios. This is your chance to turn it around. But the fact that Tahira gets picked on here and he has to play from the pit makes it so difficult for Aphelios. Long story short, Kevo gets caught, doesn't use Flash, doesn't use Moonlight Vigil, ends up dying.
Unfortunately for Kevo, he doesn't have an LDR. He doesn't have 100% crit and didn't get the crit. Just not enough damage at that point. Still, big lead, 2x7. Yes, they lost the Baron, but they still managed to come out even further ahead afterwards. They've got 40 seconds to what will be Soul for them, which is a huge point of power for them. 3 items now complete for Nata, and we're going to have to see whether more can be done from Vanir. They're at 2 items themselves, but being behind what full item on people like the Jace, full item on people like the Jinx, makes their lives so, so difficult. However, their team comp is supposed to be played. Noodle, Nile, maybe. Got to catch on to Haru here, possibly, but that control ward will spot him out.
Again, remember, it is just so hard to face check into a Syndra and a Thresh. Yes, they're very... they're not necessarily 100% to hit because they're playing with skill shots, the Thresh Hook, the Scatter the Weak from Syndra. But when you're first on the map, when you're first in River with Syndra and Thresh, it's just so easy to pull it out because nobody from Vanir can face check because this will happen.
Absolutely. And the thing with calling something a skill shot when you've got people like former world champions on your team, I remind you, is that skill is there in abundance. They've got Soul Point with no contest from Vanir. They are playing smoke and mirrors. They're playing guerrilla warfare here, trying to find ways, angles, means to secure something back in trade around and about where and when they can. Still, Noodle leading the charge in boss. It's the whole of Vanir here, actually, as they're taking Baron RX7. They're going to try and trade this out for an inhibitor turret. I just don't know whether they're going to have the option as Jaeger's going to be around.
I think this is all worth it right here. With what you want to do with Vanir is peel backwards. You take that, you take the inhibitor, and what is X7 going to do? X7 is just going... They're going in. They're going for the end.
Wait,
they're going for the end.
Walk forwards. Okay. They're going to get a Nexus turret here as well. They haven't been able to take the Baron. Wait, they're going to try and do it. They're going to get on this last inhibitor turret. It's going to go down, surely. Wait, that's a kill now onto the Gwen. But the Nexus is exposed. Berserk's buying time. Temp's alive, nearly gets a kill. What about the Nexus? Still doesn't quite go down. The bailout fails. And it's bankruptcy for Vanir, who went all in on that.
Oh my god, what they forgot is the empowered recalls. When you take the Baron, you've got empowered recalls.
They didn't take it. They didn't take the Baron. It just recalled. That's what I'm saying. They didn't get to take it. Instead, they're going to try and march this down. They're going to go for the Baron here. There are no wards in base. So there is a minion wave. There is a teleport on Sahira and Nile. 30 seconds until they spawn, though. So this should be securable by X7 without Vanir being able to backdoor.
I wonder if this could potentially be an inhibitor tower and an inhibitor first, and then you run it towards the Baron. Because right now what you're going to do with Baron is run straight into Vanir. Vanir loves that. They want you to run into them because they've got the peeling composition. You overextend, you get punished, but who got punished in the end is Vanir because they got very greedy. They thought they could end the game, and what happened right there is X7 destroyed them, but the Nexus is open.
And when we said they're playing smoke
Naked.
and mirrors, there's a little bit more to that smoke than just mirror, because this was fire.
That's a really cool play, by the way, with the Rise. You use your teleport and you take the minions together. So he used the entire wave to put it underneath the Nexus towers and try to end the game. Of course, every time you split apart as Vanir, you get picked apart as well by the X7 composition. And that's what happened right there. They could only take 50% of that Nexus down. But again, the Nexus is naked right now. There are not towers protecting it. So the second, yes, if that inhibitor respawns, it can respawn. But the second you take it down again, there is nothing stopping you. One Wukong flank, one Sahira flank into enemy base could end you the game.
It really, really could. 3 items are now.
Spam in the chat, yes or no? Are they? Is Vanir gonna expect you the game?
It needs to happen. Get me a vote. Somebody in there, tell me what you're thinking. 4 items on Jace. 4 items on Jinx. It's 3 items and so much damage from Tempt, who is, of course, at the rank 3 ultimate. The power unleashed will eviscerate anybody who cannot go immune. Gwen, I'm looking at you. But Vanir, they're still in a very difficult position. They're down the soul, down gold. But they've managed to find some angles I wasn't expecting. We saw that play. It nearly worked out.
Look at them, look at them. Poor Kevo is sitting in the middle with no summoners onto the Aphelios, trying to cut the wave. Top side of the map is Sahira, and it is also Quickset in the bush. Now he's only going to show himself. And Jaeger is showing towards the top side of the map as well.
Coming. That's a realm warp out on the mini-map for Quicksith and Sahira, who were trying to get a shove in top side.
So, what Vanir is trying to do right now is trying to put
Stop the
pressure.
recalls. They do. That means Jaeger can get in here and start chunking people. Sahira's taken very low, but they won't be able to chase any further than that.
I don't think that matters too much because there's nothing going on right now on the map. If anything, it is X7 that's feeling the pressure to do something with the Baron. So as long as you keep delaying them from doing anything, you push in top, somebody has to reply. You push in bot, somebody has to reply. Kevo, you push in the middle wave, nobody is with you, just the wave crashing in. Kevo's just gonna annihilate that. So all in all, X7 have not necessarily done anything with the Baron. They haven't put any pressure, which means they haven't put any vision down. And in 2 minutes, Elder Dragon's going to be spawning.
But it's so difficult for them to do anything because the way you can play with the Realm Warp, with the Wukong going over walls and the like, makes it so difficult to leave any kind of opportunity to get into the base. They've had to play defensively here, and it does mean that while they got the Baron, as you said, they couldn't get lots done, and it stalls for this comp. Nile will not be able to recall, and of course level 16 on Jinx means that ultimate's not on a very long cooldown at all.
Also, Sahira going Season 2 Jungle Ezreal with a full blue build is going to be really hard to play against.
Don't say Jungle Ezreal when it's Haru on the other team. He's literally got a skin for that.
Why not? Why not? So yeah, I think it's going to be really difficult because Frozen Heart is going to cut down a lot of that attack speed coming from the Jace, coming from the Jinx. Once you're into their face, you're cutting down a lot of their attack speed whilst also being tanky and dishing out the roots and the damage. So that Rise is going to be a key member, I have to say, playing right in front of the Aphelios. I think Sahira has to play this to perfection.
It's going to be hard. It's going to be so hard. And remember as well, you can see the way they're playing. They're
50
all
seconds, you have to go for the Elder Dragon, man.
Exactly, and the thing is they're standing in lane. They're looking to try and play for ganks down lane, realm warp in with players from behind, catch somebody out in the dark spots that come through.
That's the wrong side of the map. That's the wrong side of the map, though, because even if you go towards the top side of the map and it's somebody there to stop you,
they're there. Look at Haru. They're going in over the wall. Now it's going to be a 2v3. Berserk goes Haru, but he's not going dead. He's not quite dead yet. Flash out from Quicksith. Noodle trying to get away as well. Nile in a dangerous position, gets scattered the weak. And he tastes the full, unadulterated force of will from a Cinder at 3 items. Kasing secures a death sentence on here, and it's Nata running rampant, excited indeed, resurrecting, but for how long is Nile? Will avoid the final auto, but a zap from Jinx secures the kill. Noodle running away best she can, but at this point she may as well fall on her own sword slash scissors as Tempt looks to cut off her escape route. Jaeger, shock blast goes wide because of the hallowed mist, but X7 are on a victory march. They'll move to the Elder Dragon and take firm control of the late game in this big matchup for them.
Oh, that was a big blunder from Vanir. What are they thinking? You're pushing top side of the map while the bot side of the map
They're
is
trying to find
completely
something.
open. If you want to find something, it needs to be towards the bot side of the map. You take that inhibitor, you push into the nexus, you threaten the end, because right now X7 have more than enough tools to end you. One shock blast hitting you into the face can get you very close range off of that execute from the Elder Dragon. This is very dangerous stuff that Vanir is playing with, because 45 seconds, the Baron is coming up and Elder Dragon will still be active. And yet again, Vanir are thinking they're being clever, pushing as a 3-man. Your main carry is stuck in the mid lane. The one that dishes out the damage is stuck in the mid lane. That Ryze is mainly a tank. Nile is mainly there to provide a front line. So there's no damage. This is literally a Ryze. Noodle has not touched anyone this whole fight. And as it turns to ceiling, like, guys, are we supposed to be playing for the Elder? Are we supposed to be playing for the bot side end?
Noodle running away fast as he could in that one just wasn't enough. And I understand what it says to me
here we go again.
with the bush baits like this is we cannot win a 5v5.
They wanna run it.
We cannot
They
play
wanna run it.
an easy game. We have to play moves like this.
They're letting
the row
them-
won't be
oh,
on
they're
the
going in.
minions.
They're going for
They
the
know
end.
they're there. They know they're there. They got spotted. The pings are coming. They need to reset. They can't go for the Baron, and it will force a reset out. And Vanir are forcing X7 to not push to end because they're consistently threatening the bare Nexus.
Oh my god, the
What
heart
am I
attacks.
witnessing?
The heart attacks are starting to come in right now.
Got Elder Dragon! This should not be happening!
This should have been happening before the Elder went down. That's exactly what you should be doing if you're Vanir
Back to
right
Baron.
here. But this is so clever, because X7 are trying to pull the trigger onto the Baron while Vanir are threatening the end, and they also want to play away from the Elder Dragon buff. They don't want to fight X7 right now. What they very cleverly did is that they won themselves enough time for X7 to go for Baron, reset, go to Baron again, reset, and then push, which means that there will not be enough Elder Dragon buff available, which means that you could potentially fight them on an even footing once the buff has run off.
Yes, but are you ever going to be able to get to that point now with the inhibitor respawn, now with Baron, and they're not worried about that additional shoving wave? They're going to get an opportunity to shove through the open lane in mid. That inhibitor has already fallen. X7 begin their own march into the base. Can Vanir defend?
Elder still up.
Elder still up. Look for the shock blast. Look for the cataclysm. It would be an apocalypse for Vanir. The Inferno Moonlight Vigil come through, but it's sunsetting. Haru is dead though, and that's a big hostile takeover. The late game coming through. Nile will not quite die to the Elder buff. Will now. Nata still free firing, but not yet. GA come through, and they might have done it. No way. Not like this. Nata does get out, but look at the death timers. Look at Nata being run down. Skip, slash. You're dead! It's Kasing alone! The ping's on the end of it! And Vanir will still prevent X7 from taking sole first place. They have found a way, somehow, some way, against Baron, against Elder buff, against a mighty gold lead to turn this game around. They'll run straight through the towers and end it all.
You can't lose with the Elder buff. You can't lose with the Elder buff. X7 lose with the Elder buff, and they give away their lock-in for first. That's what Excel and Bifrost want X7 to lose, and Vanir just gave them that.
3 games in a row. I can't believe it. Not like this, not like this. Vanir, it was Smoke and Mirrors. They come win a 5v5, and then their own got out Nexus. They pull off the win.
What a game!
What?
Okay, so Vanir managed to pull out an insane feat because only Bifrost, I'm gonna repeat that, only Bifrost has ever in this season been able to say that they're proud to beat X7, the only team. Add Vanir to the list because that was so well played. You can't lose with Elder.
I'd like to say something more, but these Nordic teams, man, Vanir and Bifrost seems to have a number for the British X7. What a way to go in this third game. It leaves things very exciting for Wednesday, I'll tell you that. We're gonna have to cut to a break because we've still got 2 more games to go, and I desperately need to catch my breath. See you in a few for some interviews.
The Kings bleed. That's what we take from this game. Vanir taking the victory versus the Nordic Kings X7. Everybody thought X7 would come out as a winner. Everybody thought X7 would come out of this split undefeated. But there we go. For the third time, they've bled. And I gotta say, this was an amazing game. I told you guys that this was a sneak peek for playoffs. This is a best of one, obviously. So as soon as we go into playoffs, we're gonna jump into best of 5. Things are going to be different. You have to adapt, you have to improvise, overcome as well as you go throughout the series. But there's a hope. And I want to talk with Vanir. I just want to skip this part. I want to talk with Vanir. I know it's the coach, Flash. Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Obviously, you're feeling the hype, aren't you?
Yes, to be honest, I didn't expect we can win, but we somehow did. And it was in great style. What I can say is S12 champs, but yeah.
No, it was a marvelous game. You brought in the Wukong. I have to see all my questions because I was putting up different questions out of a sudden like, wait, they're winning. They're winning. Okay. Now taking a breather and looking into the champion select, you bring in the Wukong versus the Jace. How did you feel that this matchup would go in the beginning and in the late game?
I mean, in the beginning, they have to fight a lot. Wukong needs to get a little bit slight lead, so we went for that. Sadly, we went 1-for-1 on a dive, but what we needed, basically we were thinking about Malphite or Wukong, but Wukong was a better option draft-wise. So yeah, that's why I went for that.
And you catch people off guard as well, bringing the Wukong. Not everybody plays versus the Wukong. I think we saw 3 times the Wukong this split, and it worked. Okay, then you get to the vision part, and in the middle of the game, it seemed like Vanir was having a lot of issues trying to get some sort of vision. We're getting picked up by the Syndra, by the Thresh, the burst coming in from Jace. So it seemed really awkward for Vanir to take vision. How can your team adapt to that inside of the game without the coach telling them how to do it?
I mean, this thing came because we were doing some little individual mistakes, but they are easy to fix, and we were like getting killed, someone else was getting caught. Like, it's whatever, to be honest. We are happy with the win, and obviously we will review the game, but it will be really, really hard, to be honest.
One of the things that we were talking about, I remember when I did the interview with Michigo, and he was telling me that the hyper carry era is alive. So if you make one mistake versus a Jinx, it's GG. And on the top fight, I don't know if you recall that, where Sahira was caught, and then you lose the Rise, and all of a sudden you see the reset CD for Nata. It seemed like the game was over. What went through your mind when you saw that specific play? And the Nexus play as well.
Okay, so I don't remember correctly if it was this exact situation, but what I remember Noodle called was like, guys, let's go as 5 bot. They will completely ignore us.
Yeah.
And they will go for the Nash, so we might end, and we went for that. Obviously, the situation that happened on the top lane that you're talking about was a little bit of our mistake. We could just go back and respect that Aphidus is not with us, if I remember correctly. But yeah, like I said, there is a lot of stress in the game and a lot of like little individual mistakes. However, macro-wise, I would say I'm kind of happy. We were trying to synchronize the waves on the 3 sides all the time, so yeah.
And since you were in the call, since I got that information, can you tell me what were the sounds as Vanir took down the Nexus of X7?
Yeah, it was a lot of screaming, that's for sure, and probably we'll post the voice comes soon, so you can see it yourself.
Okay, thank you so much. I want to see that. I want to see that on Twitter. So as soon as you get it, tag me if you can. I want to see that one. Congratulations on the victory.
Yeah, thank you very much. Can I say
Yes.
One more thing?
Yes.
I think Yamada was betting on us, so props to you, Yamada. Thank you very much, and see you in playoffs.
See you in players. Thank you so much, Flash. Have a nice one.
Yeah, bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. And there you go. Vanir takes the W versus X7. Now, I don't know if I already have with me on the other side of X7. I don't know. So I'll wait for the cue to understand if he's waiting for the interview. But this is a great victory for Vanir, not only for their mindset, but also, as you heard the coach at the beginning of the interview, okay, we didn't think we would get this win. So if you have that mentality, obviously it's going to be really hard to jump into the Summoner's Rift. But now that they know they can win versus X7, the best team of the NLC, they'll probably look at every single team and say, we can win versus everybody. So this is a good morale booster for everyone on Vanir's team and everybody on the NLC, because the Kings are bleeding, and that's a really good take that have to take. I don't know, production, do we have, not ready yet, but it seems that it's going to be ready, because I want to talk with X7. It's going to be Piotr from X7, the analyst, and there's a lot of questions that I want to make. Obviously, it's really hard to get into the top. We talked about this multiple times. But the hardest thing for the team is to jump into the top of the standings and remain the top of the standings undefeated for a long time. So obviously X7 did that, but they're now losing. They lost 2 times versus Bifrost, another one versus Vanir. So it seems like the team is losing nowadays. So where can they improve? Because the last game they lost versus Bifrost, it was specifically with a weird composition. And he, as the coach from X7, told me, okay, we're trying some things, it didn't work, but next game is going to be easy. But now it seems like it isn't. And now I know I have with me for the interview, Piotr, are you there? Welcome. Piotr? Can you hear me?
Oh.
Hello? I don't got Piotr. Okay, all right, said I almost got him, but we had a little issues with the connection. So we're gonna skip that and jump to the next game where we have Singularity versus Dusty. I was teased in social media today that we might see a different pick today for Singularity. I don't know what's gonna happen, and neither do you, so stick around and I'll see you soon after this quick break.